All right, it is Monday, October the 5th, and what we have gone over in agri-science the last couple days has been soil requirements. We went over some growing media, and today we focused on pH and fertilizer. So to kind of recap from our whole media discussion, media is what plants grow in. You make or manufacture media. It contains a combination of different things. To start with, soil, right? That is what you want. That's what you grow plant in. Dirt is what you get in the house. Okay. So specifically media components, nursery media mix, right? When you go to the store and you buy a bag of potting soil, that is a nursery media mix. Now, the little white stuff that you see in there that looks like styrofoam is perlite. That is a volcanic ash material. Okay. That's what it looks like. And then we also have this thing called vermiculite in there, which is a mineral mica. The easy way to remember that the mica is MIC. So we have MIC right here, and we have MIC right here. So vermiculite, mica, MIC, MIC. Okay, that's the easiest way to remember that. And that's what vermiculite looks like. If you squish this together before your fingers, it gets almost looks like glitter, right? It looks like glittery eyeliner is what vermiculite looks like. And then sphagnum mulch, it kind of looks like Spanish mulch that you see hanging down on trees in South Carolina. It's called sphagnum mulch. The biggest thing about peat moss is that it's found in bogs, which are marshy areas. Peat moss is a really huge ingredient of nursery mix. But the thing that makes up more soil mix than any other thing is bark, right? So bark is the highest percentage. And you can also grow plants in water. That's called hydroponics. We'll talk about that more in our next unit. And then today what we focused on was the pH scale. So pH is how neutral or acidic your soils are. So our pH scale goes on a range from 0 to 14, with 0 to 7 being acidic and 7 to 14 being alkaline. 7 is considered neutral. And the way that you basically adjust your pH is by adding something to it. Okay, as you can see, the pH suited for most plants is 5 to 7.5. So if you had a pH of 4 and you wanted to raise that to a 6, you would then amend this thing called lime. So lime is going to raise your pH, which means bringing it from an acidic to an alkaline. Okay, that's what lime does. It raises your pH. And if you had a really high pH, so if you had a pH of, say, 8 or 9, and you needed to lower your pH, you would apply sulfur. Okay. Now, compost is also an amendment. Compost is going to help add nutrients back into your soil. Compost originates from something that once used to be alive. That's why it says organic matter. If it's organic, it used to be living. There's all sorts of different kinds of compost that you can incorporate into your soil. What we also spent some time discussing today was fertilizers. Fertilizers are kind of like vitamins for plants. So plants require specific elements in order to grow and produce flowers and vegetables. So the big three we talked about, and the only three that you have to remember for this class, is nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, N, P, and K. So when you look at a bag of fertilizer and you see the numbers on there, those numbers, right, are going to tell you N, P, and K. So this is always going to be nitrogen. This is always going to be phosphorus. And this is always going to be potassium. Okay? So the other thing to look at is how much weight you have. Most fertilizers come in a 40-pound bag. Sometimes you can find them in a 50-pound bag. Okay? So it just all depends on where you purchase your fertilizer from. Okay? So that's what those numbers on a fertilizer bag mean. NPK. So nitrogen has a very specific purpose. That's what's going to cause your plants to green up. Phosphorus is going to encourage blooming. Potassium is going to encourage root development. Okay, so for tomorrow's activity, what we went through today is we discussed how to figure out the amount of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium in a soil. So if you had a 10-10 soil, right, that number and this number right here is the percent of nitrogen, the percent of phosphorus, and the percent of potassium in this 40-pound bag. Okay, so our first example, we used a 10-10-10 fertilizer. That means 10% nitrogen, 10% phosphorus, and 10% potassium. Now, the way you figure this out is pretty simple. You take the weight of your bag, which is 40 pounds, and then you multiply it by the percent. So you change your percent to a decimal, so it's 0.10, and that gives you 4 pounds of nitrogen. And then if you do the same for phosphorus and potassium, you get 4 pounds of each. So out of this 40-pound bag of 10-10-10 fertilizer, right, we have a total of 12 pounds of N, P, and K. So what that does, the stuff that's not fertilizer is called inert material. Basically what that is filler. So that when you put this in your spreader and you put it out in your yard, it's going to spread that product out evenly. Okay? Pretty simple. Now, if you notice on this 10-10-10, it has nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So this is what we would call a complete fertilizer. In the second example we did, we used a 30-0-15 fertilizer. You can see how there's no phosphorus in this one. Because it is missing an ingredient in here, this would be an incomplete fertilizer. Okay? So, and then you would do the math the same way. It's a 50-pound bag times our 30%, which is 0.30, gives us 15 pounds of nitrogen. There's 0 phosphorus. 50 times 0.15 again gives us 7.5 pounds of potassium. So out of our 50-pound bag, you would have 15 and 7.5, and you will come up with 22.5 pounds, right? 22.5 pounds of Fert. And then that will leave you with 27.5 inert material. And that's a real easy way you figure out fertilizer. We're going to do some work with that tomorrow. And then we're also going to be doing some labeling with our pH scale tomorrow. If you have any questions, feel free to drop by my office hours tomorrow morning from 8:15 to 8:45. And I hope y'all have a great day. And we'll see y'all tomorrow.